Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and I'm taking a slight deviation from my usual content of doing movie reviews and talking about movies, as well as doing television series reviews and talking about television series. Now I add streaming series along with television series like in that one phrase. Uh, this is the first of two documentaries that I absolutely love and adore, or I should say the first of two rockumentaries that I absolutely love and adore. So this is, the first one is Anvil, the story of Anvil, which is a 2008 Canadian rockumentary film about the Canadian heavy metal band Anvil. It's written and directed by screenwriter Sacha Gervasi. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He used to be a former roadie of the band, and this was his directorial debut. And it also includes interviews with, you should see clips of other musicians who have been influenced by the band Anvil. I must say, going into this, before I watched the rockumentary, I have actually never heard of Anvil. I've never listened to any of their music until I actually watched the documentary. So the movie starts off with scenes from a 1984 huge rock festival, which was in I believe Tokyo, Japan. Anyway, it's in Japan, 1984. It featured several rock bands who went on to sell huge amounts of records, made millions and millions of dollars, like Scorpions, Whitesnake, and Bon Jovi. However, there was one band that was, I believe they were headlining at the time, Anvil, who didn't go on to that kind of success. They were an ambitious band of musicians who really, hit fame in that early 80s, but then their success just went in a steep incline, complete decline for them, and they were struggling to actually make ends meet. So you get to meet the two surviving original members, Steve Lipskudlow, who's their frontman singer as well as their lead guitarist, who drives trucks for Children's Choice Catering, basically a company that serves, or I should say delivering food to freshly cooked food to schools and other institutions. And his best friend growing up, drummer Rob Reiner, who worked in construction and is also a hobby painter as such. And you get to see them doing these everyday jobs, struggling to pay their mortgage, struggling to try and make records. They both would actually prefer to play on stage in front of their adoring fans. But nowadays it's mostly a very small dedicated group in the Ontario region who come up for a show, like they show the, at a club they have Steve's 50th birthday party. Yeah, they both were 50 at this time. So now they would be over 60. So their current rhythm guitarist, what's his name? Ian Hurd, I believe, and their bass player, I can't remember their bass player's name. One second, I'll quickly pull that up. It is important for the story. Glenn Five, that's the name. So Glenn and Ian, they're they're the current members of the band at this point in time, and I think this is 2006, 2007. And what happens is Ian's current girlfriend is an Italian fan of the band called Tiziana Arrigoni, and she offers to become their manager, and she tries to set up a European tour for the band, and she says they can earn at least 1,500 per show. So this is several venues across a few weeks. So it's a promising initial start because they're playing at the Sweden Rock Festival, and they get to meet former colleagues, or I should say former friends of theirs who used to be, like Carmine Appice, who is a drummer, and Michael Schenker, who is a former member of the Scorpions and is a solo artist as well as part of MSG, Michael Schenker group. And they also meet Tommy Aldridge. They have faded from the limelight. Most of the people don't even really recognize them. and after that things go really bad for them. They go to several venues where it's like 50 people, less than 100 people. They're barely getting getting enough money to pay for their airfare and their travel, because they've got to use conventional methods like trains and buses, and at times they miss their connections. And in one particular event in a club in Prague, because of the language barrier with the bar owner, as well as the fact that they got lost on their way to the venue, they played in front of a small group of, like, I don't know, just a few people. And after playing, the bar owner refused to pay them because they were late. He says the people who were planning to come and see the band and then therefore give him business left because the band was delayed, and they almost came to fisticuffs. And they're playing empty places. There's lack of promotion. It's like a paper with a printout or something written on Sharpie and stuff in certain places. It's obvious that their manager is in over her head. I don't even think she's capable of managing a band, but she's doing her best. That's what she says. I try. And she starts crying at one point, and Ian consoles her. At one point, Rob Reiner even says that he wants to quit the band. He says there's no point in continuing, but then he is convinced by his best buddy Steve. Finally, it's the last venue, which is supposed to be this huge venue of at least 10,000 seats and possibly more standing crowd. And the venue says that at least 5,000 people are sure to be there, so they excitedly go to the Monsters of Transylvania in Romania at the venue, and it's only 174 people show up. Just imagine what the band has got to go through. And it's a band that once were hyped as being possibly the ones that will be even bigger than the Scorpions, even bigger than Whitesnake, and even bigger than Bon Jovi. Remember, this was 1984. Bon Jovi were not a household name at the time. They were still 2 years away from their big breakthrough, Slippery When Wet. And finally, they return back to Canada. They've taken like 5 weeks of work. They come back. They barely made any money. Financial difficulties. They're forced to. Steve takes a second mortgage on his house. Glenn is homeless, living in a van or something like that. Ian Hurd marries Tiziana, and the band actually plays at the wedding. Just a small group of their family and friends watching politely. It's crazy. It's actually very odd to see this middle class. I would say, middle class or even lower middle class people trying to make ends meet. And finally, they think that the reason why they've not been selling is because they've been their productions have been really bad. So they decide that they want to go back to have a face-to-face meeting with. I mean, they try different. They try some other record labels in Canada, but or the Canadian versions of, or I should say, Canadian wings of big American record companies, but they're disappointed. They decide that they want to go back and record with the producer of their breakout album, Metal on Metal, which is their most successful, most popular album back in 1980, in the early 80s, and they want to try and get Chris Sangridis to actually do it. So he's a British producer. So they have a talk, and they say, like, he wants them to come there, face-to-face meeting. So their 13th album, This Is 13, is what they want to do. So they'll need at least £15,000 or $15,000 somewhere to finance the record. So he goes, Steve tries to make money by selling, like doing telemarketing and stuff, and he's embarrassed because he's not able to do it. The funny part is the call center is actually owned by one of his biggest fans, and he tells him, like, you can try and make as much money as you can. Eventually, his older sister lends him the money. They go to Dover in England. They meet up with Chris, and after several weeks, where there's fights between Kudlow and Reiner, where they even about to hit each other, and they say the quality of the takes are bad. They criticize each other and all that, but they hash it out. They're best friends. And finally, they're able to finish the album. They try to go to record labels once again. EMI Canada refuses after showing some interest, and then they decide they're going to sell it on their own, sell it in the back of cars, sell it through the internet at concerts and other, like, meet and greet venues and stuff. There's barely any label recognition, any push from any labels and all that. They don't really know what's going to happen, but they do consider their recording process and the album success. They think it's their best album since Metal on Metal, and this is die-hard eternal enthusiasm and eternal optimism that the band showed. It's very, very, I would say, very, very inspiring. And finally they get a call that they want to be playing in Japan, which was their venue of their biggest, at the peak of the pinnacle of their success, right? So they say they want to go to Japan. There's a lot of fans for you still there. The original fans are still there, as well as new fans. They go to the site that, which is the highlight of their career. However, it's a 3-day festival and they're on first. They're with the very first act, which is in the afternoon, like late morning, 11:35 in the AM. And they feel like it's going to be a disaster, but then they go out and it's a huge crowd waiting for them, chanting their name. That's the breakthrough that they needed. And they go on to have a decent career since then. They're still playing, although it's still only Steve Lips Kudlow and Rob Reiner. They have different artists right now. Steve ends up getting enough money to pay back his sister's loan, and the band gets a lot more recognition and all that. I think they've earned a lot more fans. I still don't listen to them, to be honest, but they've earned a lot more fans, and I want them to be successful. I wanted them to be, get that money so that they don't have to work those jobs. Just concentrate on being a rock band, a metal band. So they get a lot of publicity because of the documentary. They go to Download Festival, they go to several other venues. They are support acts for AC/DC and Saxon, other heavy metal bands, of course. And they go to the Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien, and they tour the US. And they've been busy since then. The only problem is Ian Hurd basically settled down with that crazy woman, his wife now, Tiziana. I just want to give an update on what they're still doing. They're still playing music. They're still releasing albums. In 2010, although they went to several venues in the UK, Spain, Belgium, Switzerland, Germany, the Netherlands, Finland, Sweden, France, Italy, Germany. They released their 14th studio album in 2011 on a proper record label. Then after that, they went back again for doing tours in Europe and then North America with Alice Cooper and Saxon. They released their greatest hits. They started re-releasing their older material with better production quality. Glenn quit Anvil in 2012 when he was replaced by Sal Italiano, who was formerly of a Iron Maiden tribute band. They went in 2012 in the winter. They went to the US and Canada. Then they released another album called Hope in Hell, and then after that they opened for Metallica in Singapore. They played this is in 2013 and 2014. They played the Wacken Open Air, which is this huge festival in Germany. They went to Australia, and in 2014 once again they went on a large scale US tour. Continuing that, they released Louder Than Hell, their Wacken movie, which is a collection of their concert. They've also, along concert they were added along with Alice Cooper, Anthrax, Annihilator, Deep Purple and other bands. They split up with Sal Italiano, and now it's Chris Robertson, who was already acting along with the band and was a member of the road crew. And then they released Anvil is Anvil in 2016. They toured once again Europe, and Japan is supporting it. And then after that, they released their 17th album, Pounding the Pavement, which was in 2018. And then they had their 18th album, which is Legal at Last, which came out just before the the pandemic in 2020, and then 2 years ago they released their 19th album, Impact is Imminent. They still do small gigs wherever they're possible because they really like playing in front of a small crowd, and they do a lot of things for their fans. And in this year they released their 20th album in 2024. So yeah, it's a fantastic. You will see the human spirit. You will see friendship between Steve and Rob Reiner which is the base of everything. It's basically two friends trying to do what they love the best. You see the family spirit in this suburban town in Ontario, and you'll see the spirit of rock and roll, the spirit of heavy metal, shining bright throughout. Currently, the band is Steve, Rob, and Chris Robertson, and I don't know if they've got another drummer. No idea at the moment. Excuse me. So that's the rockumentary Anvil, the story of Anvil. I give it a 10 out of 10. It's a must watch. Even if you don't like heavy metal, even if you don't like music, don't like Anvil, it doesn't care. It doesn't matter. Watch it. Bye.